All right guys, here we have a 99 EZGO TXT gas. This one here has an issue with starting. So the issue with this one is key on, neutral. It doesn't do anything when the key is on and you press the pedal, except when you do this. So this was shown to me by the customer. He would press the pedal and kind of like try to roll the engine over. And when he would, it would chatter. Okay, so that tells me there is a problem in the starter generator. The customer had replaced the starter generator on their own. It was not something that I had done or anything like that. So I'm thinking we have some bad brushes in the starter generator. It does roll over fine when it's not, obviously when you don't step on the pedal. But no matter where you put it, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so no matter where the engine position is, starter generator doesn't crank the motor over, so there's a problem definitely within there. This cart was in the shop once. We had this one here. We replaced a fuse terminal block. You can see right here, we put this in, put this fuse terminal block in, some new fuses. I put in a new flasher relay for the turn signals because it had failed. And we also replaced the turn signal switch at one point. The customer supplied us with tail lights and we changed them out. So these are the tail lights that the customer gave us and we put in place of the old ones. We were going to replace the headlight assemblies, but these headlight assemblies were working just fine. But that was something that we had already done on this cart. But it is back here in the shop now for this complaint here, which has nothing to do with anything that we did. So what we're going to do is diagnose this now by removing the starter generator from the cart, and we're going to see what the story is with these brushes. Let me get this air box out of the way so we can see exactly what's going on in here. Start by, oh yeah, we did all this stuff too. Yeah, you can see that I dated this, so this wasn't that long ago. I know by the time you see this video, it could be in the middle of winter. Put new tires on the truck today. That was fun. So what I'm doing first is removing this air box. This is going to give us better access to the starter generator. Boy, these things here look melted. It looks like they don't have this. No, it looks like they just melted. This is typically what you get when, oh, look at missing a bolt. Okay, so here's the air box out of the way. So what I'm looking for is, oh, look at that. The armature is toast. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see the edge. I mean, you could see the armature down in there at the very bottom of the screen, but it's cooked. Let's get the starter generator out and we'll get a little better view on this. I'm going to loosen this nut up down here. 3/4 or 19 millimeter. That's bolt spinning? Yeah, kind of. I just want the nut to break loose. I'll use the ratchet here. See if I can get it on this side. Okay, and then I'll put this long socket on this side. Because all I want to do is just break it loose first. And then we can back it out with this, which will make it that much quicker. You know, I understand it, folks. Stuff is cheap on eBay and Amazon. I understand that. Myself, I buy from eBay and Amazon. But I don't buy from eBay and Amazon for parts that I'm going to put in a customer's golf cart. And this is exactly why. Yes, the parts I sell are made in China. They say it right on there. I'm going to admit it. It's the way it is. Everything is pretty much made in China. But my parts I can warranty if something were to go wrong. Just got to disconnect our negative battery terminal here while we're at it. And this is why I don't install customer supplied things. Okay, yes, I put the lights on this, but they were basically the same lights that I would be getting if I were to order them myself. The tail lights, that is. They were already there, you know, I didn't have to wait for them to come in. This, I don't have a starter generator for an EZGO. I thought I did, but I don't. So now this guy's gonna have to wait for a starter generator, which is fine. Well, it's fine for me, not for him. Big long ass bolt that goes straight through it. Sometimes that bolt jams up and you can't get them off. This pin here that comes out, the adjuster bolt, sometimes doesn't have this little clip on here and it will get lost. Let's keep that in mind. All right, so what we need to do is disconnect our ground, 10 millimeter. You have to be very careful when installing these cables on here, because if you put them on too tight and you're not careful, you will spin the connector out of the inside of the starter generator motor. And once you do that, you're screwed. Now we can disconnect our positive. Okay. And this starter generator I will probably be giving back to the customer. This is an 8 millimeter for the charge circuit. I was hoping it was just a solenoid because that's a fairly common failure point. But after taking that cover off and seeing that smoke coming out of there, and I see the condition of that armature, I know for a fact that this is our failure point. Now that we got this out, let's take it over to the bench and examine it a little closer. Let's see how well this is going to turn up here. I don't know. I'm pulling off all of these. Look at this. This thing's, oh, never mind. That's the weep hole for the bottom. This one always goes on the bottom because it has this little weep. Oh, you can't see it. This one here, this cover. When you take these apart, you got to make sure that this one is on the bottom hole, one that faces the bottom of the starter generator, so it can drain if moisture gets inside. All right, so I'm just pulling all the covers off. They're all cruddy. Very, very cruddy. Let's pull the back of that starter off so we can take a look at the armature. So 10 millimeter, there's 2 of them. I'm also going to disconnect our, this is F1 to A2, and then A1 goes to ground, and then F2 goes to positive, and then DF, which is your field winding for charging. So let's take off here. Let's take off this one. This will just give us a little bit easier access to the cabling here. So what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to leave this nut off so that I know that that's where I took it off from and there's no questioning it. Wow, this thing is... So what I'll probably do is I will give the customer a call. Let's see if we can... Yeah, this will come apart no problem without really using any force. The brush is basically disintegrated. They're done. Oh yeah, look at it, burned it. Right here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but it's burned. This one got real hot. It changed colors. They all got real hot. So what would I do in this situation? This one's starting to lift. They're burned off. See, these are burned. And that's from the repeated attempts of trying to get this thing to crank over. Well, these are burned too. I don't know if you guys can see that. I know there's going to be some electric motor experts out there. They're going to say, oh, just do this, just do that. If this was a $1,000 electric motor, I'd send it out for a rebuild, but it's a $200 starter, so we're not gonna bother. Plus, there's no reputable places near where I'm at that actually are reliable and reputable, so I'm not going to have that option without getting it back for about a week. And it's probably going to cost as much to rebuild this and repair it as it would be to replace it. So that's why we don't do that around here. Okay, so you can see here, you can see how it's scored and burned. Hopefully you can see that. See how that's got it's all pitted? Yeah, we could probably sand it and it'll be fine. I have to ask the customer what they want me to do. I could try to sand this up and put it back in and see if it'll run. If I do, I'm not going to warranty it. I think it should be replaced because it could fail again and cause more issues. See, I don't need the headache and aggravation. It needs brushes for sure. So that, I mean, that's a definite. We could put brushes in it and see what happens. But what I'm going to do, I mean, you can see how the brushes are basically, hopefully, let me back this out, zoom out a little. You can see how the brushes are, they're bottomed out. So the brushes are shot. This wore out in 2 years, the guy said. Yeah, so that's where we're at with this right now. This starter generator, as far as I'm concerned, it's toast and it needs to be replaced. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in touch with the customer. I'm going to ask them if they want me to try to clean up this armature here. The commutator, this is the part of the thing that's the commutator, the part that communicates the electricity through. Commutator, armature, whatever. The armature is the spinny bit in the center. This is the commutator right here. And these are the brushes. I'm going to see if he wants me to clean this bit up right here, at least attempt to clean this part up, put new brushes in it, put it back together, and see if it works. If I do that, I'm not going to warranty anything because I know this is all screwed up and it's going to destroy the new brushes, so I'm not offering any warranty whatsoever to him. It's going to be an as-is job. If he wants me to go ahead and do that, I will. If not, then we're going to put a starter generator in it, if that's what he wants to do. It's been a couple of days, so we got the new starter generator for this cart. Let's get it out of the box. It's an Admiral motor, which is the Rox house brand, my house brand, Rox, Red Hawk, however you want to look at it. Here you are. This is part number MOT 2003. All right. Let's see here. Let's get this plopped in. I got to put all the cables on first. What I'm going to do first is make our electrical connections before we anchor it in the cart, so that way everything's done electrically. This on here. And remember, guys, when you tighten these little nuts down on these terminals, you don't want to spin the back one. You spin the back one, you're going to have issues inside. You don't want to over tighten them, is what I'm saying. Okay, so now we'll put on our This cable here, whoop. Up the nut and the lock washer. Put that on. I got to transfer a lot of the other hardware over to this one, but I wanted to get this far at least first. Hands are sweating in my gloves. It is hot and humid today. I know you folks down south are probably laughing at me. Oh, it's only 90. Yeah. For this area, it doesn't normally get this hot. So, only 90. I was out in Kansas many years ago when my sister and brother-in-law were out that way. He was in the military, and that was ridiculous how hot that was. 120 in the shade. Screw that noise. You folks out there can have that bullshit. Don't forget to put that back on. Okay, let me get the old one. We'll get the parts transferred over. Boy, this thing stinks. What are we on here? We're on F1. Oh, we don't care if we twist this one. I don't want to destroy it, yeah. Is it easy to see what I'm doing? Probably not. I know I'm not really explaining very much. All I'm doing is just putting the new wires, or the old wires, on the new generator. So that way I don't have to worry about doing that when the generator's bolted in. I'm just doing it as I go here. All right, F1 goes to A2, which is on the back side. Make sure you don't entangle any other connectors or anything else. And make sure the dust covers are in place as well. They just help keep the terminals nice and clean and protected. You could spray a little terminal protectant on there, like battery terminal protectant on them if you really want to. You don't have to, it's not required, but you could. All right, now I'm hooking up the last connection, which is our ground. This one does not have a protective boot. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bolt through, get this thing in place. I'm actually, before I do, I'm going to put some anti-seize on this bolt. Just a very thin layer. Because what'll happen sometimes with these bolts, in my experience, is that they will seize up in there because it's going through aluminum. And at least with this anti-seize on here, it will help prevent it from getting stuck. I've had a couple of them where I've had to knock them out with a sledgehammer or heat them up with a torch. At that point, the starter generator was shot because beating down on it like that is just not good for it. It was the only way to get it out though. Okay, anti-seize. We're gonna go through from this end. Where's our... There we go. Okay. For longevity, long-term repair possibilities, that's going to be very beneficial to have the anti-seize on there. I dropped a flat washer and I'm just trying to find it. There it is. Under the center of the cart, usually. That's where everything falls. But remember, anti-seize is a very sticky, messy paste. It gets all over everything. I have to put the adjuster bolt in yet, which is basically held on with the little clip. Set this here gently. It's just got one of these press-on clips. So I'll put it in the vise and just give it a tap. It'll come right out. Just give it a little tap, and you just got to remember to save this little clip because it will go flinging and disappearing on you. And it's just a push-on little gig. Alright, so I'll put the starter generator belt back on. And then we'll make our adjustment. These are just 9/16 or 14 millimeter. 9/16 works better. Just got to get them unstuck from each other. And then you should spin the bottom one. The top one's a jam nut. Do you see what I'm doing? Yeah. And then I'll give it a quick test, make sure everything's good. I gotta hook the battery back up. Make sure it's good and working the way it's supposed to. Tighten up the pivot bolt. Oop. Nice and snug. There we go. Put the airbox back on, and then this cart's done. On to the next one after this. There we go. Okay. That tightened up a lot easier than I expected it to. Oop. Hooking the battery up. Battery's not secured in here, of course. Okay, let's just make sure it rotates. Yep. Looks good. Alright, so now I'll just tighten up the pivot bolt down here. Put the airbox back on. And we're pretty much done. There we go. Alright, tight. Let's get this airbox installed so we can be done with this cart and get it out of here. We're going to put on our PCV. Spacer here. Spacer here. There's supposed to be 4 spacers on the back of the airbox. There we go. These bolts are the ones that put the spark arrestor out from the intake and are only holding the airbox to the carburetor. They don't go all the way through. The studs that come off the motor is what holds everything to the engine, the face of the other side of the engine. So I'm going to get everything started, and then I'll tighten them all up, and then we'll put the spark arrestor on and those two nuts, and then we're good. Okay. That's nice and snug. Put our spark arrestor on. Oh, let me show you orientation on this. I had a couple questions on this. So orientation on the spark arrestor goes in there like this. So here's the curved inside, the curved outside, concave, convex. The concave side goes towards the carburetor. Hope that helps for those of you that were asking. All right, this car's practically done now. Let's see if it starts and runs. It should. There we go, guys. That's pretty much it. That's going to do it for this one. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you already haven't. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified anytime I upload a video to the channel. Check the video's description for links to products I use every single day to make these videos. Leave a comment in the comment section down below, and as always, we will see you in the next video.